Alright, so I've decided to remake my Module 2 milestone using some new programs that are more applicable to this course and that I understand a little better. So let's get started with it. The first one I'm going to be looking at is this grocery tracker app that I made in CS210. It's basically a database for items in a grocery store. It has a list of all the items. So I'll go ahead and run it. So you can get the frequency of the items. You can print a list of all the items, and you can print a histogram of the items. So let's start off with getting a list of the items. It's number 2. So as you can see here, we have all these different produce items. We have apples, beets, broccoli, and it tells you how many of the items they have in the store. So we can get the frequency of a certain item. So now that we know what all is here, let's look for how many broccoli we have, for instance. So we type in broccoli, and we have 7 items of broccoli. So what I want to do to improve this program is, first I wanted to add a login screen. So only certain users could have access to, these functions, like the manager of the store or whatever. So you first run the program and it'll prompt you to log in. You put your username and password, and then it'll check to see if you have the right permissions to access all these functions. And if you do, it'll log you in and you'll be able to use them. And if not, it'll return you back to the login screen because this program doesn't do anything but this is a database. So it'll return you back to the login screen, maybe ask you to use some different login requirements. I'll probably, in the program, since this is for school and everything, I'll probably have it in some text to say, what you should log in with, so you just know and you can log in. But in the real world, it would be a security measure to prevent, just anyone from getting access to the database. I could potentially also add an option to add an item from this program screen instead of having to go in and edit the list in the code. Let's find the list here. Having to edit this input file and whatever. So you could do it from the program. You could add some items and how many there are. Let's see. Some other things I wanted to do with this. Let me just check my Word document. Oh yeah, I wanted to make a function where you could just, let's say we'll go with function number 5 or something, and it would you'd put it in and it would automatically show you any items that are low in stock. So if you were the manager of a grocery store, you'd know what to order. So I was thinking any item that's less than 3, so like these limes and beets, it would give you a list of those items so you know what to order. I could get fancy with it, and if your store sells a lot of apples, for instance, it could display items based for each item. So say you sell a lot of apples, you need 10 for the week, but you only have 4. So if the apples are under 10, it'll show you, but you may not sell a lot of cantaloupes, so you might be fine at 2. So each specific item could be weighted and then only displayed if you need that item. So maybe under 3 wouldn't be the best, but just starting out, I think I'll just display items less than 3 just because it's simple and it'll be easy for me to implement. Alright, is there anything else I wanted to show with this one in particular? Yeah, yeah, I mean, I think this program in particular will definitely be aligned with category 3 in databases. So, it can show my ability to manipulate databases and provide functionality. Also, algorithms and data structures. I want to be a data analyst in the future. That's why I came back to college. So, you could use the information from here to make decisions for your grocery store, like I was talking about earlier. So that's a type of data analysis. So, what items you need and whatnot, and what decisions to make using data-driven decision making. Yeah, so I'll show a little bit more of the code here. So this is the grocery tracker app. I think it reads the database. And then, yeah, this is all the functions where you can get the frequency. You can print a list of all the groceries. I think I did a pretty good job of commenting the code well. Oops. So I'm pretty happy with that, but I need to continue that going forward. And then here's our main file. This is a program menu here. So I'll have to add one or two more options here for the added functions I'm planning on, and probably the login will go here as well. It displays what it does when you enter each option, now which programs to run. But yeah, it's pretty simple program. It's going to be a lot easier for me to work with than what I was using before. So that's good. And then I was also hoping, as long as you approve it, I could use this spreadsheet I use for work. It's basically, I'm a truck driver, and then there's an option I can get through email, and it'll send me like all the miles I've driven through the week, and the amount of delay hours I had, and the task hours I had, and then it can calculate the pay for each day, and then the weekly pay. And I think I could make this more functional if I put it in like an SQL database or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what I'm gonna do yet, but the plan is to just take this spreadsheet, move it over into like an SQL program, and then it'll be able to store the information for later dates, so I can compare like each week how much money I made. Because like, for instance, this week I worked 48 hours and I made $1,881, and it seems like sometimes I work 45 hours and I'm making over 2,000. So you could help me figure out like what I'm doing wrong, to see like why I worked more this week but made less money. So it could give me some insights of what I should do differently in the future. Let's pull up that Word document about what I was going to do with this program. Yeah, right now it's like you can only look at the information for 1 week. So once you put it in, it's gone. Like I find my email here. So yeah, I basically get this email from work, and I can copy all this data in and then paste it, and it'll spit out all the formulas and information. It's really not too complicated, but the problem is, I suppose I could save like a spreadsheet for every week and then access an old one, but I think there's definitely a better way to do that, like with a database program. But once I paste in some new information, the old information is lost. So if I change this to 104, for instance, here's my new updated weekly pay, and yeah, but I don't know what I had before. So if I wanted to compare and contrast like weeks previous, and I can't really do that right now. I think some other functionalities I could add to this program are like, I could put in like my taxes or something and try to calculate my deductions. I think that'd be possible. that's something I could do to improve it that I've wanted to do. But I mean, I think I totally could do it in a spreadsheet, but it'd probably be easier in a database. Anyway, let's see what else we got here. Yeah, I think both of these projects will be aligned with like my future career path of data analysis, working with databases and everything. That's why I chose them. The program I was working with before was like, like video game stuff, working with OpenGL and making 3D graphics and rendering, which I'm not good at. Uh, and and then also I don't think it aligns with like my future career path or um, the rubric outlined, with our e-portfolio and everything, since we're supposed to be showing our ability with like security and databases. So I think this will just be overall a better fit going forward. Yeah. I don't know. I've just been busy working a lot lately. Like, sorry. I know my work before wasn't very good. I just wanted to address that. Hopefully, I can do a little better going forward. I do want to demonstrate my ability to improve the code iteratively each week. So I think I'm getting there now. We're off on a good foot. And I also want to show. I mean, I've never really done this before, so hopefully I can pull it off. But I want to show how I could like take this spreadsheet and actually turn it into a program with code and everything. Which I don't know, sounds kind of hard, but hopefully I can pull it off. Also, I wanted to show with the login screen, like at least I can do some security. It's definitely one of the things I've struggled with, like with security and everything. I remember that one class, and I forget even what it's called. We had to make like authentication tokens or like crypto authentications. I don't know. That was really hard, but I think I can at least make a login screen. That's something I can do. Yeah, I just want to make, and definitely with this spreadsheet, if I take it over into a program, I can show how I can make code that's like well commented and that other people could work on and understand, and show like my flexibility of being able to actually make something. I mean, honestly, this is the only thing I've ever made on my own. So, I guess I'll just keep going with this. But yeah. I think I'll pause the video for now while I think of some more stuff to say. So, I thought it might be useful to take a look at the GitHub page for the grocery tracker app and just give an explanation with the README. Basically, just read this. But anyway, so the objective in Project 3 was to create a functional grocery tracker program. The goal was to help users track the frequency of various items from the grocery list. The tools within would allow the user to better understand and manage their grocery inventory. In crafting the solution, I focused on building an intuitive user interface. The system allowed users to load data from a file, fetch an item's frequency, print the grocery list and a histogram, and back up their data. Although the initial implementation was functional, there is always room for improvement. The next step in this project could involve enhancing the error handling to include scenarios like file not found or invalid inputs. This, along with limiting the number of iterations in generating the histogram or searching for an item, could make the code more efficient, secure, and robust. One of the biggest challenges during the project was dealing with file handling operations and mapping the data into a structured format. I resolved this issue by leaning heavily on resources such as the C++ documentation and various online guides to comprehend the intricacies of the ifstream class and the STL map compiler or container. This experience underscored the significance of continuous learning and the effective utilization of resources, which I plan to incorporate into my data analyst toolkit. The skills acquired and refined during this project like file handling, user input validation, uses of STL containers, and object-oriented programming will undoubtedly be beneficial for future projects and coursework. A key emphasis of mine was to ensure the program was maintainable, readable, and adaptable. By adhering to a modular approach, consistent formatting, descriptive variable naming, and comprehensive inline comments, I was able to create maintainable and readable code. The usage of object-oriented programming and the map data structure ensured the adaptability of the program. This approach not only helps to track additional attributes of grocery items if needed in the future, but also epitomizes the adaptable and reusable code that every software development project should strive for. So yeah, I think I hadn't read this in a while, but that did give me some ideas of improvements I could make. I guess I could, yeah, I didn't think about the error handling and what you do when you input the wrong number, so that could be helpful. Here's another thing I wanted to show. This is the histogram, so if you hit 3, prints the histogram. It's kind of confusing and not very useful, I think. I don't know. I think there's definitely a better way that this data could be shown than stars. I mean, you know, I prefer the list. It's much better than these stars, but I think there's a better way I could do this to show how many items there are. Or at the very least, I could make it so it shows from greatest to least amount of items. Like right now it's alphabetized. But I just feel like the list of items is just a far superior option for trying to comprehend the data. But if there was a way to organize the data by the amount of items there are, so like, you know, there's one lime, so it would be at the top, and there's a bunch of zucchini, and that could go towards the bottom. So I think that would be a better way of comprehending things, and we also still would have alphabetical, which maybe give you more options to how you could look at the data, make things easier. I was also thinking it's a little confusing when you launch the program. Like the first option is get frequency of an item, but you need to know the items in the list before you can even use this function. So we hit 1, enter item names, but you don't know the name of any of the items. So either when you put in this option, I was thinking it could show you the list of the items in some kind of concise way that doesn't take up a bunch of space on the screen. Or we could move print the list of items to the first functions. I think that would just be like a more intuitive way for the program to work, because I mean, probably the first thing most users will do is hit the first option. So if the list of items was number 1 instead of 2, and then you can see all the items first before you try to get the frequency of an item. So that was just a thought I had, just make the program a little more accessible and flow a little better. After taking a look at the checklist, I was thinking this histogram printing function could benefit from encapsulation, so it could be reused and it'd be a little more clear and easier to understand. That was just one thing I think I could improve here. I think another improvement I could make would be with the error handling and maybe input validation. It seems to work fine now with no problems, but I was thinking if I started adding more data to the list, like more grocery items, I could run into some problems. Like if a file can't be opened or something, you know, I'd like it to display a message explaining what happened. And I don't know, some of the menus, maybe if you type in something that you're not supposed to, you might run into problems. As like if it wasn't an integer, it should be fine, but if you put in some kind of number, I don't know, it seems to work fine, but I think it could be improved a little bit. And then like, yeah, it could potentially be reused, like some of these options, like we make a function for input validation instead of each individual function having input validation. It just goes through an input validation function. I'm not 100% sure how to do that, but it could be something I could improve. So I think that'll about do it for my code review. Thanks for watching. I'm looking forward to doing a little better now. And but yeah, basically I want to turn this spreadsheet into a database. And I want to add login functionality to this program. Add a few more items to the database. Add a way to insert items from here into the database instead of having to do it through a text file, which the normal user wouldn't be able to do. Like, they'll say the manager has decided to, some customer asks for some canned beans or something. It'd be nice if you could just add it from here. Like, we add an additional item, to add item, and then it could edit the text list from here. It's also not another thing I'm sure how to do, but I could try to figure it out. But yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great day. My name's Zachary Manus. This is for class CS 499.